What's up, Bills Mafia? It's the Bill Squad Show. I'm Jeremy White, and we've got ourselves an MVP caliber clash to start the season.
I'm Joe Marino. I'm excited for week one, and I'm even more excited for what Jerry Ostroski is going to say next.
I'm the big O Jerry Ostroski, and the only thing I care about seeing Sunday night is a tweet from Joe Brady that simply says this, 1-0. This is the Locked On Network, and this is Bill Squad.
Who's ready, Bills Mafia? It's the Bills Squad. Everything Buffalo Bills, every week. Breaking down the big hits and game-changing plays the way only the Locked On Podcast Network can. Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. So gear up and squad up. The Bill Squad Show starts now.
And welcome in, Bills Mafia. Jeremy White, Jerry Ostroski, and Joe Marino here for the Bill Squad Show. We've got a Bills-Ravens preview for you. We get to the updates on everything that happened at practice today that we know about, injury designations. We've got some player angles. We're going to dig Jerry's mind on what it's like to be in this first game when you're playing the team that ended your season the year before. Kevin Oestricher of Locked On Ravens as well. It's a crossover Thursday on the Locked On Network. So we're going to get Kevin Oestricher to tell us about the Ravens side of things and, of course, get you our final picks for the game. Today's episode is sponsored by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 lineup. Jerry, you remind me, Joe Brady and his 1-0 tweets. It is 1-0 tweet season from Joe Brady. And fun fact, at training camp this year, when we had a chance to talk to him, I called him out because he broke his own streak of tweeting 1-0 because he's a Florida Panthers fan, and they won the Stanley Cup, and he congratulated them on that. So he broke his 1-0 streak. But hopefully late Sunday night, he is starting a new streak of 1-0 tweets because that's all that matters, right, Jerry?
That's it. That's all that matters. I don't care if the Ravens outgained us last time, whatever they did. The Bills won the game. They went on to the next week. The Ravens went home. That's all that matters.
Speaking of Joe Brady, Jerry, you see him talking up Jackson Hans and that blocking today and his press availability. Come on now, that was some pretty big comments there from the OC.
I think Jeremy's got to find something to ride with a little bit. You know, you've got the Josh Allen and Dalton Kincaid deal. I've been beating the table for Jackson Halls for quite some time since they drafted him. Jeremy, you're the only one that hasn't come up with a topic yet.
I know.
The wide receiver train guy doesn't have a shtick?
Here's the thing. I'm going to rip my shirt off and reveal like the tight end underneath it as I do a heel turn. I'm on the tight end train.
Let me rephrase that. You are right. Recently, with some of the things that have happened, Jeremy has, under his breath and kind of passive-aggressively, well, just go ahead and bring it up, Jeremy. Bring up the number one prop on Bill Squad. Bring it up.
Number one prop on Bill Squad. What is it?
The train. You got to bring your train up.
Hey, say what you want about Jeremy White. They let the guy in the new stadium. You know what I mean?
They do.
That is true.
I did pay for tickets, too. When you pay them, they'll let you in, too. All right, gentlemen. We've got some roster updates and some news from practice on today's game. So Sam Franklin to the active roster. I saw that first reported by Aaron Wilson. He referred to him as special teams ace. Sam Franklin also is listed as a safety. So whatever, like Sam Franklin to the active roster, taking the spot vacated by Dwayne Carter, who goes to IR, and Matt Prater to the practice squad. So that set of three pieces of news. The biggest news is likely Prater, right, who could get called up on Sunday night if he needs to, if Tyler Bass is unable to go, which we've been tracking this all offseason, all preseason. I almost feel like I'm expecting Matt Prater to be the Bills kicker on Sunday night.
Yeah, that's my expectation as well. I mean, he's 41 years old. He's made 1 million field goals in the NFL. He has been a team's kicker, I think, every year since like the early 2000s. Season last year was cut short due to a torn meniscus, week 5, I believe that was. And so he hasn't kicked since then, but this is a guy with a lot of know-how in the NFL. But let me make this comment here about Sam Franklin, who is, think Saron Neal type, not going to help you on defense, but a big-time special teams asset. And, of course, has some time with Chris Tabor from their days together in Carolina. And, you know, there's been some information that Sal Capaccio brought up this week that got me a little concerned. The Bills have allowed a special teams touchdown in 3 of the last 4 week ones. And the Ravens, they got some nice returners. Their kick returners are Justice Hill and Keaton Mitchell. Those are both 4-3 athletes that are very, very explosive. And their punt returner is a rookie, LeJonte Wester out of Colorado, 5'11", 167, runs a 4.5, but had a punt return touchdown in the preseason, had 2 punt return touchdowns in college and 11 yards per return. So Sam Franklin has a lot on his plate here this weekend, dealing with some really good returners for the Baltimore Ravens for a Bills special teams that's got to get better.
Right, and we've talked about it a lot on the show about how are they going to formulate this roster as far as defensive linemen once Ogunjobi and Hoyt get back. Then we talk about how they need special teams players. You know, I don't want to use the term dream scenario when somebody gets hurt like Dwayne Carter. It's a horrible situation. But as Joe talks about all the time, injuries clear up a lot of things sometimes. And unfortunately for him, he had the injury, but for the Bills, not only does it clear up that week 6 situation, it also allows him to bring up an absolute special teams ace in Franklin, which him on the team is a big time asset coming into Sunday night's game. It's going to help them quite a bit.
Fully expect special teams to kind of increase its effect on games with the new kickoff rules, the touchbacks, how it's all going to play out. So there's your roster stuff for the Bills. Practice updates, no Tre'Davious White, yes to Christian Benford, and yes to Keon Coleman. The Bills have, all 3 of them have groin injuries, and Trey's appears to be the most serious. He's not practiced in a couple days. But good news on Benford, good news on Coleman. 2 players that I think are very important to this matchup with Baltimore. And the Ravens, of course, are down a couple of players as well, Patrick Ricard and Isaiah Likely. So, both teams come in at less than 100%. Joe, you spent a lot of time the last, 48 hours looking at Baltimore, what they do. How different do you expect them to be week 1 here? As the Bills are making their tweaks and their changes, these teams know each other, but it's a new season, and maybe they'll all be trying new wrinkles.
Yeah, listen, the 2 Ravens injuries are pretty big. Isaiah Likely at tight end and Patrick Ricard at fullback. And those are identity pieces for the style of football that Baltimore wants to play. Of course, Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry really define them, but those are really key ancillary pieces where we know Baltimore wants to play big people, right? They want to put big bodies on the field, really tighten those formations, introduce extra gaps when you've already got a lot to deal with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. And Patrick Ricard is a really big part of their run scheme, and he's a really big part of their pass pro. And this is a Ravens team with 2 guards that are both question marks, with Andrew Voorhees at left guard, a 2023 7th-round pick that's played less than 300 snaps in his NFL career. And then the right guard is Daniel Faalele, who's nearly 400 pounds, and he's a good run blocker, but the movement skills are not so sound in pass pro. And Ricard really helps with those players and maintaining that depth of the pocket for Lamar Jackson. And so for a team that wants to play big, that wants to introduce extra gaps, that needs help for their guards in pass pro, these are some big things here for Baltimore to navigate here as they approach week 1, and probably had a lot of counter punches ready to go. And they'll have to kind of consider how to play without those players who are meaningful for what they want to do.
Exactly. I think, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, you're good, Jerry. Go ahead.
No,
I was ask you the same thing, Jerry. I was going to ask you, like, on Baltimore's scheme, but also on, like, it's week 1, you have continuity. How many new things does a team have when a lot of pieces and coaches are returning, but it's a new season?
I mean, I think there's some things that you can look at. Obviously, we all are sitting there with bated breath wanting to see what happens with that front 7 of the Buffalo Bills. Does that defensive line move? Are they changing gaps? Are they 5- and 6-man pressures? Those types of things. Stuff we've not seen in the preseason. Obviously, we want to see that. We want to see how these new receivers fit into the Ravens passing game. They've got quite a few new receivers. How do they fit in? Does Zay Flowers, how does he fit into this system? Is he getting better? Is he getting more comfortable? All those things. But to me, and you bring up a great point, these games like this are my favorite games. I mean, everything's in front of you. I mean, you can throw in a wrinkle here, a wrinkle there. This is a heavyweight matchup. I mean, this is the two guys that are MVPs in the league going at it, physical offensive lines going at it. I mean, this is what football's all about to me. Coaching is going to matter, but only so much in a game like this. You play 100 and some plays, 200 plays, and really it comes down to about 7 plays out of those 200. And the thing that's great is you don't know when they are. And obviously for the Ravens last year, the biggest of those 7 was the last play of the game for them with the Andrews drop. So this to me is pure football. And I love games like this. There's nothing to hide. There's no tricks or anything. You might get a wrinkle here and there, but man, it's big boy football, and it's all in front of you, and it's man versus man, and it's what this game was built upon and what it's meant to be.
This game is obviously so much about Allen and Jackson, right? Like the two MVPs, as it's been laid out before. The two players that, guys, I think in all of sports, there are three players that are at the status of so good they should win something big, like a Super Bowl or a Stanley Cup. I think it's Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, and Connor McDavid. And after that, it's tough to find number four. Maybe baseball fans would say something about Aaron Judge, but the fact that Allen and Jackson are so closely tied together, and anytime we're talking to somebody in Baltimore on WGR, I talk about it like a shared existence. Awesome, amazing, and trying to get by that pesky team in Kansas City. And, you know, when we see the two of them square off, it's always a treat. Joe, my question for you is supporting cast. Like, which of these two teams has the better supporting cast? If the quarterbacks cancel each other out right now going into week one, who should feel better about their chances?
Baltimore. I think that's a team that has more high-end talent, and they're really deep, and they've done a really good job of drafting, and they give themselves a lot of opportunities to be correct with draft picks. They stockpile every year, and they cut a lot of draft picks too, but because of their volume approach and Eric DeCosta, their GM's approach, where he doesn't want to be the smartest guy in the room, and he says, look, everyone drafts about the same. And when it comes down to it, it's just, you got to give yourself more chances to be right. And he believes in that. And they maximize their draft capital extremely well. And they're very choosy with their extensions. And I think they do a really good job of managing that roster. And so I think because they've drafted in a higher volume, they've been able to have more hits in the draft. And I think that supporting cast in Baltimore is better. Now, listen, the Bills have a great roster. The Bills have a top 5 roster, but it's probably 5 and Baltimore's probably 1 or 2. And so you're talking about upper echelon, but I think the Ravens are a cut above.
I think the biggest thing with the Ravens is continuity in leadership. And I think the most important spot for longevity of success of an NFL team is that head coaching spot. We saw it way back in the day when there was a Bill Cowher, Tom Donahoe power struggle. And the Rooneys decided it's a lot easier to find another general manager than it is a head coach. And they removed Tom Donahoe, and he was here and there. Obviously, he was in Buffalo, surfaced as a consultant in Philly, but he never really had the career that people thought he would have after he left Pittsburgh. But Cowher goes on to win a Super Bowl. John Harbaugh has been a tremendous coach. And with that longevity comes belief in a system and belief in a certain type of player. Is there a team in the league, okay, when we study the draft and players coming out, is there a team in the league, maybe now Detroit because of Campbell, but you look at a guy and go, that's a Raven.
Yeah.
That's a Raven. It's been that way forever since I played against him, and it was Goose, and it was Ray, and it was, all those guys. There's certain players that's a Raven. That's that belief system. Now they've had other general managers. It was Oz. Now you got the guy they have there now, but it's that same system and longevity, and they don't reach. They take their own. They know what they are, and to me, that's a huge deal. Knowing what you are and believing in what you do, and the Ravens are the epitome of that.
Bills have some injuries going into this game. We'll see about them as the week goes along. Who are the most important players for the Bills in this matchup? Keon Coleman might be high on your list. He picked up an injury somewhere, limited in practice earlier in the week, but maybe trending in the right direction. I feel like Keon's important. Maybe Dalton Kincaid. The Ravens, I feel like we've talked about that, Joe, that they can be had in the tight end against linebackers kind of game. Like, who do you think is key for this Bills team to get on script, on schedule offensively against this Baltimore defense?
Yeah, I look at 4 and 86, James Cook and Dalton Kincaid as two players that should have really nice opportunities to be productive. The Ravens have given up the most passing yards per game last year to opposing running backs, and they're the third most to opposing tight ends. And so you've got to get those guys going. Those are key pieces. I mean, Cook's a paid running back. Kincaid's a first-round pick that you traded up for. This is a moment for them for what they provide. It should be very helpful against this team. And Trenton Simpson's kind of the where's Waldo. That's the guy on that defense where you say, that's our opportunity to put a player in conflict that hasn't proven himself, that has struggled, that's young, and you got to get him twisted up a little bit. And I think Cook and Kincaid are your two opportunities to do that. So those are the guys offensively that come to mind for me.
I look at our offense and I don't know why. I just don't have any stress level when it comes to the offense with who's pulling the trigger and what they've got going on. When I look at this game, to me, the most important part of it's going to be the newly constructed defensive line and how much pressure and how they can play against Lamar Jackson. Now, obviously, his athleticism takes him out of a lot of pressure, although I don't think he's as good of a passer on the run as Josh Allen is. I think his MO is more, if it's not there, it's pull it down and go. He doesn't extend plays as much, I don't believe, as Josh does, wanting to throw the ball. But when I look at this game and I look at the possibilities of a 6th-round rookie and Dorian Strong starting at corner, Benford playing, and he's had the groin injury, but obviously they're saying he's fine. And then you look at the uncertainty of our safety room, which I think will be okay too. But you throw all those things in, what's the group that can control everything to not only, help the defense in general, but help that secondary? It's that front. I want to see Joey Bosa earn his money. I want to see Groot earn his contract extension. I'd love to see TJ Sanders come in and pair with Ed Oliver in third down situations and run games and slants and movement and create inside pressure. That group's going to have to be really good on Sunday night for this defense to play well, I believe, against the Ravens.
When we get back, I want to ask about, the angle of getting back on the field against the team that ended your season before it, because Baltimore's coming in with a lot of bad taste in their mouth, and everybody's motivated to win, Joe. We know that, but Baltimore's still kind of the media's pushing that. We'll talk to Jerry about that a little bit. Also, a little breaking news: Amari Cooper has retired. So from the Raiders tweeting unfinished business with Cooper to, you know what, I'm done. What a fast end to a career for Cooper. He's acquired by the Bills at the deadline, and we think, how could this go? Could they re-sign? He's done. He's out. Amari Cooper has retired. So interesting. All right, back on the other side with Jerry O's, Big O's player angle to Bills Ravens and our Locked On Ravens guest, Kevin Oestricher, after that as well, as we get you ready for Sunday night's game between the Bills and the Ravens. It's coming up next here on the Bill Squad Show. All right, so it's time to look at the weekend, of course. We look back and crown the MVP. Who delivered? It's powered by DoorDash, just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash Streaks, saving every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. So break it down. Who delivered for the Bills? I mean, Josh Allen's still the reigning MVP, right? Josh Allen delivered in a big way for the Bills. Whether it's the touchdown against the Niners, we'll always have that play where Amari Cooper pitched the ball to him. When the pressure was on, Allen came through again and again and again. He won the MVP. No hesitation, no delay. If you've been watching week after week, last year, you saw, not a fluke. Every week, Allen performed. And just like Josh Allen delivered to the Bills, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash Streaks. You save every Saturday you order. Stack it up all season. You could save up to $250, including 100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. That's the DoorDash Streaks you can take advantage of. All right, back here on the Bill Squad Show, Jeremy White, Big O, Jerry Ostroski, and Joe Marino. So media-driven, quite possibly, the idea of the Ravens being up for this game. But familiarity, you know how this works, Jerry, right? You play a team a lot, you start to not like those guys. Deion Dawkins and the Jets, right? We got a lot of evidence of that. So as the Bills and Ravens get set to meet again, if you're playing in the trenches there and you see the game on the schedule, do you think about the team you're playing, or does a player think about the guy that's going to line up directly across from you? Because that's your Sunday, right? That's your Sunday night.
It's a little bit of both. I think sometimes you look at that schedule and you see a team and you realize physicality is going to be a little different this week than maybe it might be against another team. So you have that aspect. You really want to study who you're playing against. That's a big deal. But, one of the things about these two teams that I think is so interesting, they've been in so many meaningful wars and they've been battling for the same spot for so long. You can formulate all the angst that you want, but I believe there's a lot of mutual respect across both rosters. I think in general, both rosters, they kind of like one another. They respect each other and what they do. I mean, I don't think there's a ton of hatred here. This isn't like the old school Cowboys versus the Commanders, or the artist formerly known as the Redskins. This isn't, Bills Dolphins back in the heyday. I think both teams have a lot of respect for one another. But you know what? When you look at this thing, I don't know how you get revenge on a team that went to the next round of the playoffs and you went home. Because if this is a revenge game, the most you can get out of this game is 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. You're not going to the playoffs beating the Bills in week 1. You know, you've got to play a full season. They played last year in Baltimore. It didn't go well for the Bills. And the Bills still ended up being that team that went to the playoffs and beat them in the playoffs. So I think that the whole revenge factor and everything looks into it. That's fine and dandy, and it's great for a storyline. But when it comes to the players, they're more interested in game plans, who they're playing against, and getting the job done. Because no matter what type of feelings you have as a human, after the first snap, that's out the door. And you're worried about, the task at hand. Now, the only thing you can get out of hand sometimes, and this will depend a little bit maybe on John Harbaugh, if Baltimore does have a lot of success and gets up early, has a couple score lead, do they pour it on a little bit, in high mark, because that's what happened the last time. Maybe try to get Andrews some more meaningful touches to get him away from that ghost of the past, so to speak. But no, I think you look a little bit too much into this. I mean, there's too much work that goes into these things, too much time spent, and to worry about revenge, you lose what you're there for.
I was listening to Tyrell Shavers. He was on One Bills Live this week, and he was talking about whether or not he'll have nerves for this game because it's his first time playing as part of the 53 right out of the gates. You know, he played last season. He dressed, and he was talking about how, I forget which player it was he asked about, but somebody came up to him and asked him, "Are you nervous? Are you nervous for your first ever game?"
Right.
And he said, "Yeah, kind of, And the player said to him, "Why? You've played this game your whole life. It's just the same game you always play. Maybe it's in front of more people, but why be nervous? It's the same game you played your whole life." And Shavers just said, like, that was that vet's attempt to get him to kind of calm down in this moment.
Jerry and I think have similar reactions here. I think if you're not nervous, then something's wrong with you.
Right.
I never played in the NFL, but I have done a lot of podcasts. I've been doing full-time podcasting for a long time. I kid you not, I'm nervous every single time that record button is pushed. Every time. And I don't think I'll ever be comfortable. And I think if you are ever at that point where you think you got it figured out and there's nothing to be nervous about, I think you're cooked. So I think that's the right mindset.
Game prep is mostly mental. I mean, the physical works, besides practice and going out on the field and feeling situations against a look or things like that. The physical work is done. It's a mental thing. And there were times when we play games that were meaningless games that against bad opponents, and you walk into the locker room before kickoff and you feel a certain type of way. You're almost trying to manufacture conflict in your head to get that nervousness up. I mean, prime example, Jim Kelly, before all games, he would go to the bathroom and throw up.
Yeah, Josh does that.
That was his deal. And everybody sat at their stool and waited to hear it. And when you heard it, it was like it erupted. Like, let's go! It's time to roll. And it wasn't just the Super Bowl games or a playoff game or a crazy meaningful game against the Dolphins. It was every game. And I'm like, if that guy, who at that time I knew was a Hall of Fame player, feels that way, I'm down in the bathroom trying to put my finger down my throat. I'm trying to figure it out, right? Because if he can feel that way, I damn sure better feel that way. And so, yeah, I mean, it's part of it, dude. It's part of it. And really, honestly, that's kind of the beauty of it. It's a and here we go. I'm gonna give you another analogy.
Love it.
You can have a hunting dog and he's your pet 6 days a week, but the seventh day when you put him in the box in the back of the truck, he feels some type of way, right? Mm-hmm. He knows what's up. We're going to the field. And it's the same thing when you come in, walk down that ramp into the locker room, all of a sudden you feel some type of way.
Yeah, it's kind of that's at the root of why the NFL is as big as it is, right? It's live television. You don't know what's going to happen. You've got big stars going head to head. And while, we could sit here and talk about how, well, the winner of this game can quickly push it aside and focus on January, in between the lines in those moments, like, it's business time. You guys are getting down to work. And on the meaning of this game, I mean, we put it right there in the thumbnail on YouTube, the idea that the 1 seed could be on the line. The 1 seed, we can't see the crystal ball, what their final records could be. But this is a 2-game swing because someone will have the tiebreaker over the other and have a win while the other team's a game back. So it's a 2-game edge for the 1 seed just between these two opponents. And I wonder if the Bills or the Ravens players think about that. Can you think about the meaning of the game, even though you're thinking about the meaning in January when it's September?
I'd love to hear Jerry's thoughts on that from a player's perspective. But one thing that has kind of crossed my mind as we get into this game and you think about exactly what you're talking about, Jeremy, is, seeding and tiebreakers. How many times are we going to see this happen where the regular season matchup doesn't matter? Like the Bills lost this game in Baltimore last year. The Bills still hosted Baltimore and beat them in the postseason. How many times are we going to watch the Bills beat Kansas City in the regular season only to lose to them in the postseason, including the time that they were able to get them at Highmark? It's like at some point this has got to pay off. These regular seasons. Maybe the reality is it's just very hard to beat these teams twice in 1 year. And I'm certainly not going to root for the Bills to not win in week 1, but there has to be something to this cycle of regular season wins and gaining the advantage and then it not mattering in the postseason.
Well, Jeremy, to answer your question as far as that goes, you can't get the key to these NFL seasons, and they're even longer than they've been. You can't get wrapped up in 1 week. If you sell out for 1 week, you've got 16 more to go, 17 more to go. And I hate to say it, but the 1-0 moniker and, hey, we're going to break this one down and look at it. You got 24 hours. And then when it's done, and we're on to the next week. Those are all very, very well used analogies, but they're very, very true. And if you get tied up into one game, yes, it does mean a lot. Now, granted, lost to them last year, still were a higher seed than them in the playoffs. But, you can't get wrapped up too much in 1 week because it takes away from the rest of the season. These seasons are so long. And, you have to keep a certain type of mentality about it. And, it means a lot for the playoffs. But if, whatever happens, you throw it away, you wash it away. Or as Von Miller would say, you burn it all and you go on to week 2.
Bills and Ravens, Sunday Night Football. Game of the week, maybe. There are a couple of really good games in this opening week of the NFL season, but it's probably the best. Well, by then we'll know what happens in the Chiefs and Chargers games, and of course, Bills fans are very invested in what the Chiefs do. One more thing, a little bigger picture, because this morning on WGR, a lot of the conversation turned to McDermott, and that's because I saw Mike Florio, Pro Football Talk, he and Chris Sims talking about, at some point, something's got to give if the Bills don't get over the hump with McDermott. And it struck me today during the show as we took a couple of calls that the people that are ready to jump on McDermott are going to be there forever. And Joe, this kind of gets to your point of what happens on Sunday night is not the full story of what happens to this defense for this year, right? Because injuries, young players, they're going to try to put it together. But I guess the question I have for you guys is, like, what amount of pressure should there be on everybody but Josh Allen to get Josh Allen the rest of the way over the line? He's got this unique thing that's different from Lamar. Lamar has the mistakes. People look at Baltimore's playoff exits and they say, well, the quarterback could have been better. And Josh has this very unique life where nobody really does that. We all say you owe it to him to get it over the line. How much pressure should the rest of, I guess, the organization, primarily McDermott, primarily McBean, how much pressure should they feel to do that, to be those guys that get it across the line?
Well, I think they should have immense pressure. I think every NFL team is under immense pressure every single year, and I'm not trying to get really high level here, but I think they should feel a ton of pressure to maximize what this player is, right? I mean, this is a rare of a talent as you're going to find. It's probably the best player that's ever put on a Bills uniform, and you want to have a Lombardi trophy to show for that. So I think you can acknowledge that there's pressure to get this done, but I don't think it's the type of pressure where you would maybe compare it to Mike McDaniel with the Dolphins, where there's pressure on him for his job. I don't think there's pressure on the jobs of McDermott and Bean, and we can debate whether or not there should be, but I don't think there is. I think there's pressure to say, hey, Josh Allen turns 30 in May. Eventually this runs out. I mean, Cam Newton was a player that at this point in his career is cooked. It's over, done, right? So I I feel like there should be pressure from that capacity, but I don't think there's actual pressure to do it or else.
I look at it in two situations. One with McDermott, as when Bill Parcells was head coach of the Dolphins, I believe. Mine actually was the Cowboys when he said, hey, if you want me to cook this meal, you need to let me go to the store and buy the ingredients, right? McDermott doesn't control who walks through the door and who he has to coach. That's controlled by somebody else, Brandon Beane and the likes. So the fact that McDermott has led the Bills to 11-plus wins in 5 straight seasons and is only the 5th coach in NFL history to do it and the first Bills coach to do it is highly, highly commendable. Yes, we understand that we want to win a Super Bowl. Some of this criticism spans all the way back to the 90s, right? Spans back. It's leak over. It's holdover from the Marv Levy era. And, you got this guy like Josh Allen. The other thing is this that the Bills can't control. We've seen some generational teams in the AFC as of late, Kansas City being one of them. And you know what? If you want to beat KC, it's going to take more than just the best player in the league to do it. You got to make sure the roster's along with it and all of that. So, I think there's pressure to bring that. I mean, he talks about it the other day. He talked about wanting to bring a championship to Buffalo and what he thinks about all the time. That's what he thinks about every day, is bringing the people what they deserve. And I truly believe that. He's a sincere person. But you know what? There's certain things that are out of his control. And the fact that he's doing what he's doing with what he has, that's pretty damn good.
Yeah. Bills going for their 6th consecutive AFC East title. I mean, that's not nothing. That's a big number and nothing to sneeze at. Bill Squad Show here on the Locked On Bills channel. You can, of course, stream us, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and pop in the comments if you want. We'll get some comments and your picks, like what you think the score will be of this game. We'll throw a couple of those out there if you want. Also want to let you know, we have an important request. Locked On wants to hear from you. We put together a survey to learn more about our listeners and make your favorite podcasts even better. This is your chance to tell us what you like, what you don't like, answer questions about advertising. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey to get started. Everyone who completes a survey will be entered for a $100 Amazon gift card. Again, that's lockedonpodcast.com/survey. You can also find the link in the show notes. And thanks for helping us out. When we return, we're going to check in on the Baltimore side. The crossover Thursday in the Locked On Network. We'll check in with Kevin Oestricher of Locked On Ravens to give us the lowdown on what's going on in Baltimore, what they'll be expecting in this game, what they've got to win and lose here. It's a big-time opener here. So that's coming up next here on the Bill Squad Show. All right, Bills fans. Mazda crafts cars for those who choose to drive more than simply move. They follow what moves them every time they drive, and that's what makes Mazda stand out. They go beyond safety, style, and performance to deliver a driving experience that feels alive in every detail. Mazda offers more than safety. It's one more 2025 IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else. You can feel it the moment you get behind the wheel, the smooth handling, intuitive controls, and standard all-wheel drive in every crossover SUV, whether it's a quick drive to practice or a weekend road trip. Mazda makes even everyday drives feel special. It's the small details that make the big plays. And just like there's more to every player, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. Back here on the Bill Squad Show, Jeremy White, Jerry Ostroski, and Joe Marino previewing Bills and Ravens crossover Thursday on the Locked On Network, and we bring in Locked On Ravens host Kevin Oestricher here to join us on the Bill Squad Show. Kevin, thanks for taking some time. This game is a matchup of 2 MVP caliber players, 3 MVPs between the 2 of them, and a lot more than that, obviously. So how much of the narrative about Baltimore looking to right what maybe they feel was a wrong in the playoffs, how much do you think that is actually a factor for this week's game, if any?
Yeah, I think it plays a bit of a factor, but I think the Ravens have made it pretty clear over the course of the week and honestly the course of the offseason that it's a new season this year. And if my opinion on it, if there was revenge to be had, it would happen in the playoffs. This is a regular season game. I think to me, there are a lot of storylines. Obviously, Mark Andrews is the big one in Baltimore. Can he step up and right his wrong? But I think the Ravens are just focused on starting fast and getting to 1-0. They started slow last season with a 0-2 start. They don't want that to happen again. They dug out of that hole. There's no guarantee you do that again this season, especially when 5 of your first 6 games are against divisional winners. from last season. So, I mean, look, these are two really good football teams, two contenders in the AFC, and I know it's going to be a highly charged emotional game.
Kevin, we had our opportunity to do our crossover Thursday for Locked On Bills, and I enjoyed our conversation. And one of my favorite things about the Bills squad and Ravens squad and all the squad shows is that you kind of get an opportunity to get into some different type of stuff. So if I may, I would like to ask you more of a bigger picture question. And you and I have talked Bills Ravens a lot over the years. And I think you can appreciate the respect that I have for John Harbaugh, the Ravens, Lamar Jackson. I think the world of those people. But we live in Bills land, right? We live in Bills land. And so we live in this, Sean McDermott, can he be the coach that gets Josh Allen to the Super Bowl? And are they wasting Josh Allen? These are things that are discussed amongst Bills Mafia and media and all types of things. And so I want to kind of put you in this corner a little bit when it comes to the Ravens, where John Harbaugh is entering his 18th season as the head coach. And boy, and things have been really good. 12 playoff seasons, 6 division titles, 4 AFC championship games. They won the Super Bowl in 2012, and things really started hot from 2008 to 2014, 10-5 in the playoffs, right? They were really good. Then they missed the playoffs in 15, 16, and 17. In 2018, they get back, and they've really been there just about every year, but they haven't been as successful. They're 3-6 in the playoffs since 2018, and this does include Lamar Jackson as the starting quarterback, who has not played well in the playoffs. They're 3-5 in 8 Lamar Jackson starts. He has 13 touchdowns total. That includes rushing, 11 interceptions, a sub 85 passer rating. What take us to Ravens land and let us, what are those discussions like? Is there conversations about Harbaugh and how he's not getting the most out of Lamar in the postseason? Because that's different than Buffalo. Allen's maybe the greatest playoff quarterback the league has ever seen. So what are these conversations like? Is there frustrations with Lamar in the playoff performances and what John Harbaugh hasn't been able to maximize when you're talking about probably the best regular season team over the last 5-6 years? I know that's a big setup, but I kind of wanted to get to this point to really let you know, like, what are the conversations like? Where's the pressure?
No, it's an important discussion point, and there's pressure on everybody. I mean, obviously, I think everybody in Baltimore wants Lamar Jackson to be better in the postseason, but I think that at least nationally, it's been overcorrected with Lamar Jackson in ways. And look, we can just take it back to the game last season in Buffalo in the division round. Lamar Jackson had 2 back-breaking turnovers early in that game, but he was also one of the reasons why they were even in it at the end, as he drove down the field without his top 2 receivers. Obviously, the drop happened, and that's how the game ended. But there have been moments that Lamar Jackson has had in the postseason. I think the thing is there just hasn't been enough of them from him where, he's had great games against teams like the Texans and teams like the Steelers and that second Titans game. And even in that first Titans game, he had over 500 total yards. They ended up losing. It was a, big deal because they went 14-2 that season. And the Ravens have essentially, I think, had 3 great chances to make it to or win the Super Bowl in the Lamar Jackson era so far, and they have 0 appearances to show for it. Is that on Lamar Jackson? Sure, but it's also on others as well. You mentioned John Harbaugh, and the fan base, at least from what I can tell, is very split down the middle on John Harbaugh right now, where you have a contingent of the fan base that's like, look, he's done so much for the franchise, which is true. And then the other part of it is, well, sometimes a coach can be a great coach, but just not be the right coach anymore for a franchise. And so what we've seen in Baltimore over the last couple of years has been the Ravens moving on from Greg Roman. They bring in Todd Monken. This is year 3. Mike McDonald leaves for Seattle to be the head coach over there. So they essentially promote Zach Orr. He's in year number 2. And so essentially the conversation is, how many more shields does John Harbaugh have here before the blame ultimately is the Ravens are like, okay, we need something to change? Because in Harbaugh, he's reshaped his identity and personality as a coach. He used to be very much like, this is my way or it's the highway. And that did not mesh very well in that locker room early on, because you had very highly opinionated veterans like a Ray Lewis and Ed Reed, a Terrell Suggs. It caused a lot of turmoil, but John Harbaugh has reshaped himself into, hey, we're going to do what is best for us as a team. We're going to collaborate. And so that's very valuable in today's NFL, but we also see some time management issues. We see challenges where it's clear and obvious that why are you challenging this play? There are drawbacks, and much like with every coach, there are drawbacks. But I think for the Ravens and the Bills, I'm sure can attest to this as well. Like, the Super Bowl or bust mantra comes with a quarterback that still has plenty of great years ahead of him. But with every single season that you don't achieve that goal or even progress to making the Super Bowl, it feels like a wasted season in a lot of senses. And so I think that if the Ravens face another wild card exit or division round exit and they don't really progress, the conversations around John Harbaugh, they're going to get louder. Lamar will turn 29 at the end of this season. And, he's had a lot of great years, but essentially, like, how many great seasons do you want to waste? And is that fully on John Harbaugh? No, it's not. It's a combination of everything. I don't like to blame everything on one person or one player, but they're not getting rid of Lamar. If there was to be a big change, it would be the head coach. And he can do it. He's won a Super Bowl, as you mentioned. He has that pedigree, but it's going to just come down to, is he the right coach for the Lamar Jackson-led Ravens at this point?
Kevin, I want to switch over to the defense, and obviously new coordinator last year, second season this year. When you look at this defense, I think one of the biggest matchups of this game is Bills O-line versus the Ravens defensive line. You got a team last year that was 5th highest in sack rate in the NFL, but yet they were 8th lowest in pressure rate. Now, their finish rate was really good. When they did get pressure, they converted 24% of the time. But when you look at this defense, is this a group that has to get pressure by or get sacks by running 5- and 6-man pressures? Or is this just an anomaly and, you look at it a certain way? I mean, are they going to have to blitz to get pressure, or can they win one-on-one?
It honestly varies by game. And I know Joe and I talked about this on the crossover this morning, where the Ravens had the second highest amount of sacks in the league last season, only behind the Broncos. But as you mentioned, their advanced metrics are kind of all over the place in terms of consistency. So you'll have certain games where Nnamdi Madubuike, Adafe Owe, Kyle Van Noy, they can generate pressure with just 4 or not sending anybody, because when they win, and this is really consistent across the entire D-line, they win really fast and really hard. Like, it is a blink of an eye, one move, and boom, they're in the pocket and disrupting. Now, one of the things about Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson is these are two of the best quarterbacks at, taking that pressure and saying, yeah, I don't care, and just going around and making something happen. But I think for the Ravens, really for them, a big emphasis for the defense. We've heard this all offseason. It's more consistency and more turnovers. And in that playoff game, the Bills were the team that won the turnover battle by a wide margin. They did not give the Ravens opportunities. And we even heard Josh Allen talk to the media yesterday about not giving Lamar Jackson opportunities to get the football, because the best way to beat the Ravens, or for the Ravens to beat the Bills, it's to take the ball out of the star quarterback's hands. So the Ravens are very deep on the defensive line. They have a lot of guys that can create impact and really wreak havoc on the field. But I think I'm curious to see what they do, because under Don Martindale a couple of years ago, their old defensive coordinator, he was their guy before Mike McDonald. It was just, you live by the blitz and you die by the blitz. If you don't get the blitz and the team picks it up, well, you're going single coverage everywhere. But with Mike McDonald and Zach Orr, they've dialed back that blitz rate, and they feel like they have enough on the front four to be able to generate pressure without it. But in certain games where they just don't get into a rhythm early, it can be a really long day for the Ravens D-line, and that quarterback can sit back there for 4, 5, 6 seconds and really, tear them apart at times.
Kevin Oestricher, Locked On Ravens. Last question here, Kevin. Thanks for joining us. Injuries. Any significant injuries here? Likely Ricard, Jair Alexander. Like, how does it look from Baltimore from a health standpoint, and how big are these potential losses?
Yeah, so Jair Alexander back at practice again for the second straight day on Thursday, so he is trending in the right direction. He hadn't practiced prior to August 9th before yesterday, so he still has to ramp up a little bit, but at least on the right track to play. Not so great news for the other two here in Baltimore, for Patrick Ricard and Isaiah Likely. In Rappaport reporting yesterday that Likely was unlikely to play, and he did not practice again on Thursday, and that's the same for Patrick Ricard. So for the Ravens, I'm really interested to see. They have a fullback on the practice squad and Lucas Scott. They have a tight end on the practice squad. Do they want to call up those guys and essentially replicate what those two bring to the table? Or do they want to go with more 3 wide receiver sets, lighter personnel in the box? We will see. I mean, Patrick Ricard's a very important part of that offense. They can run without him, but it will definitely change what the Ravens have done a little bit in terms of their personnel formations if he's not able to go.
Very good. Kevin Oestricher, host of Locked On Ravens. Thanks for the time, Kevin, and enjoy the game Sunday night.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks so much.
See you, Kevin.
So, Joe, you and Kevin chatted. It's Crossover Thursday here on the Locked On Network. And for anybody maybe that doesn't subscribe to Locked On Bills, which, of course, get on that, do that. Tell everybody what is Crossover Thursdays, what the general idea is.
Yeah, so it's a great opportunity for the network to come together as a network where we've got great hosts for every team out there. And so every Thursday we come together, we have a discussion about the game. We start off by talking about the biggest storylines for each team. Then segment 2 is about matchups that will decide the game. And then we talk about the path to victory for each team. And so got things started with Kevin and Locked On Ravens. And that's something that you can enjoy each and every Thursday that the Bills play a game.
Very good. When we get back, we'll maybe get some picks in. Are we brave enough to make picks? Yeah. Actually, I have a good question for you guys. I have a really good question. It's a picks question. If you're watching on the stream, I want your answer in the comments when we get back about this game versus like the next 5. I'll explain when we return. It's coming up here on the Locked On Bills channel on the Bill Squad Show. That's next. Of course, it's football season. And that means it's time for FanDuel. The season is here. It's wonderful, isn't it? The season's here. The opener is tonight. And of course, games Friday and games Sunday as well. New customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. So FanDuel offers you that chance to get $300 in bonus bets. I use FanDuel. I've got some no sweats on the game tonight. Build a same game parlay. Like to do that with some friends sometimes. Each person puts in one leg of a parlay. We all bet it and we're watching a game together. Maybe do something like that. Quick, easy. The best way to add a little more energy to your Sundays or Thursdays or Fridays. So FanDuel Sportsbook, a chance to jump in on that $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. And right now, new customers can bet $5. And if that bet wins, get $300 in bonus bets. So are you ready to play? Download the FanDuel app now by visiting FanDuel.com to get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. All right, ready for the fun question I have before we make picks. Here's the question to people on the live stream. If you're listening on the Locked On Bills channel, it's great. We'll love to have you on the podcast side. If you're on the live stream side, you can comment and react live, interact live. Here's the question. What would be more troubling to anybody out there? I'm trying to figure this question exactly how I want to answer it. A loss to Baltimore or a loss to any one of the next 5 games. What I'm really getting at is if they beat the Ravens and lost to a bad team like the Saints, I mean, it's almost impossible, but would that be more troubling to you because you'd have the bad loss? Or if they lose to Baltimore, like, oh, whatever, coin toss game, it's a good team, and then you just, run the table after that, like a lot of people expect them to. I kind of got this because somebody in the comments pointed out, Baltimore's a coin toss. I expect them to win the next 6. Like, Bills fans are going to expect a 6-game win streak after this game, kind of no matter what.
No, I would rather them win all of them.
Well, that wasn't an option, Jerry.
Well, I guess if I have to pick, I'd rather run off 6 after losing to Baltimore.
Okay.
I would have to say that. I don't want to lose to the Saints. Hopefully not, because I'll be there for that game. But no, I mean, I've kind of you look at the setup of the schedule. It's kind of what I thought. I mean, even if you did lose game 1, you don't want to, but even if you do, you've got 6 behind it. You should win and can get yourself into the bye week with a pretty good schedule, and have yourself in good position. So, you have to think this too. Baltimore plays in a division where there's going to be some cannibalism.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to beat each other up. They've got other good games to play. So it kind of sets up better for the Bills. Now, obviously, the Patriots are better. The Jets will, in theory, be better. But still, the Bills should handle their own. But Baltimore has a much tougher task in that AFC North.
3 things on this. First of all, I would sign up for a loss to the Saints in a heartbeat
NFC
over a loss to the Ravens. Yeah, of course. Like, whatever. You lost to an NFC team. You beat the Ravens. That's so much more meaningful. Number 2 is, have you peeped the Ravens' upcoming schedule? They get the Browns in week 2, but then it's Lions, Chiefs, Texans, Rams.
Yeah.
That's a big stretch of games. So they probably feel some big time urgency to get this one. And number 3, what does Josh Allen and Jerry Ostroski have in common?
Ooh.
I wasn't an almond farmer.
I've got it. They both are very good golfers.
Oh, that is true. But it
we
wasn't
both
the answer
like
I'm looking for.
Steinfeld?
See, these are all correct. But Josh Allen joining Jerry Ostroski as someone who has their number retired by their college.
I saw this.
Ooh.
Number 17 retired by Wyoming.
Yeah, just like Jerry Ostroski at Tulsa. There's no.
I hope to God that ceremony is not this weekend. Is it?
It's after the Thursday night Houston game, so it's that Saturday. Yeah.
Thank goodness, because they play the UNI Panthers this weekend, and I don't need the Wyoming fans because, as I told you, that entire stadium would be nothing but yellow and brown Josh Allen gear and Buffalo Bills gear. That's all they'll wear the whole game.
To get back to the question about like which one you'd rather lose, like, I was trying to think of a way to point out how, fans are expecting them to run the table. The one counterpoint I would say is if they lost to the Saints, we would then have to live a life where every week doom and gloom fans would be like, "Oh, they lost to the Saints, man. They could get hammered by insert team here, Cleveland."
But see, that's where CTE is a bad thing for me because they really, Joe puts it so eloquently, and I'm like, he's right. So yeah, I guess if I had to, as much as it pained me to lose to Spencer Rattler, I guess I would rather beat Baltimore and lose to a meaningless NFC East team, NFC team. So yeah, he's correct. As
the chat tended to agree. Josh wrote in, "I'd rather lose to a trash NFC team." Jessica, "I'd rather one of the next 5." And Sandman here, any one of the next 5. A lot of those comments were kind of aligned with what you guys were saying.
I've been healed and reformed.
We all lived through the 2021 9-3 loss to the Urban Meyer Jacksonville Jaguars. And by the end of that year, everyone said this is the team that's going to win the Super Bowl. And then 13 seconds happened. So yeah, give me that Saints loss. I yearn for it more than I ever imagined I would.
I mean, if I had the capability to clip out you saying, "Give me that Saints loss. Give me that Saints loss."
You do have that ability, Jeremy.
I do.
But I also have ability as well. So choose carefully.
Right. I won't do that. All right, to the picks, right? Should we do this? Are we doing picks? Are we brave enough to do picks? Listen,
Joe did his pick. He's out there.
Yeah, I've picked this game in various places. I did.
Are you diversifying your portfolio?
No, no. That's the thing is I got to be careful. You know what I mean? I got to do the same thing. So I've already picked it for Locked On NFL Scouting. The first read pick comes out tomorrow. I did Joe picks the Bills last night for our Discord channel. So I'm good because I've done this, but you guys got to choose for yourselves if you're ready to do this.
Oh, I'll do it. Do you? Can you not give us yours because it's embargoed on time until those episodes come out?
No, I mean the NFL scouting episode dropped earlier today, sure. so it's out there.
So the pick is?
Well, listen, everybody really gets mad at me. Go ahead, Jay. Oh, you're getting.
I'm leaning back.
Yeah, because you guys like when people yell at me. That's what this is about. They love
That's
it.
not true. That's not true. I like when people yell at someone else.
Okay, so that wasn't that pertinent to me. It's anybody.
That's right. Anybody,
as long as it's not you. So yeah, people, man, I'll tell you, they don't like when I pick against the Bills. Yeah. I hear it, man. I mean, it's unbelievable what people will say to you because you didn't pick the team. But here's the thing. I want to be honest. I think more than anything, I just want to be honest with people. And of course, the Bills can win this game. It's Josh Allen at home. Are you kidding me? They, of course, can win this game. They beat the Ravens 3 of the last 4. The matchups favor Baltimore in this game. To me, they do. I think you have 2 really good offenses, and you have 2 defenses with a lot of question marks, way more with the Bills. And I think the path is more straightforward for Baltimore than it is Buffalo. So I have a high-scoring game. I have a 33-27 Ravens win. And then they're going to win 6. I predicted the Bills to go 13-4 this year.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so let it play out. It's going to be okay, but I hate this matchup in week 1.
Jerry?
I don't like it either, but for some reason, there's this part of me that thinks that something magical is going to happen Sunday night. Now, that could be me being naive, hopeful, being, whatever. But I just sense that, and I've preached this all off season, or I say all off season, since camp has started, that there's just something different about 17. Am I saying the Bills are going to go undefeated? No. But this whole thing just sets up to me for him doing something extraordinary. It's Sunday Night Football, the only game on, everything that's going on with him. I've got the Bills 34-31. I think it'll also be high scoring. I think that there's some ghosts still with Lamar that he'll, turnovers and things, but I don't know, man. It's just a gut feeling, and maybe we're back here we're back here Sunday night, and you know, I threw up all over myself. But yeah, I just think something crazy is going to happen. I just think Josh got something in his bag.
The thing I like to say about a game like this is I tend to be lined up with Joe that I'm picking Baltimore, but the point of that is, like, I think Baltimore, if I had to guess who would win the game, they are favored to win the game. And I think it's injuries, and I think it's young defensive players, and there's a couple factors here. But the flip side of that is, and Joe, first thing that happens when we come on postgame is if the Bills do win, that's not a nothing win. You have some fans that if they win, they're like, oh, they always beat Lamar. That's nothing. Like, no, beating Lamar is a big deal. Yeah. Beating Lamar and Derrick Henry and this Baltimore team is a very big deal. So if Baltimore does win the game, all right, we'll talk about what happened. But if the Bills win it, like, you just took down the other best team in football, one of the other 2-3 best teams in football, and maybe it's just, I don't want to get hopes up too early in the season. I'll be really impressed if they have their best game ready right out of the gate, considering the changes. And then the other part of it is, Jerry, this might be to your point, it's the last year at Highmark. It's the last season opener. The fans are going to be so into celebrating the whole year. There will be no garbage time this year, right? The last game of the season, red helmets, we're fired up about that. So it's a great opener. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to see what happens and talk about it afterwards. I am also I think the Ravens will win, but if they don't, man, I'll just be impressed because I know the Bills are good. I think they're a little more in tough than the Ravens are right now. So that in mind, like, go Bills. We'll see what happens. It's going to be great. And then of course by post game, we'll have reactions on what the Bengals do and the Chiefs and the Chargers. Like, we'll start to get the very early stages of this AFC picture and this NFL picture. So it's a great time of year. Glad to have it back. Right.
Yep.
Is there another game like this week that you guys are fired up for outside of obviously Bills Ravens? But what's catching your eye?
If I told you Falcons Bucks, would you laugh at me?
Oh, I think it's a great answer, especially in Atlanta.
Yeah, I just want to see Michael Penix. Like, I feel like Atlanta can be fun to watch, and if they had a quarterback, they'd get real fun real fast. So I'm really interested in Atlanta. Bears-Vikings is a great Monday night game.
Two young quarterbacks. Yeah, we kind of got to learn a lot about those guys. That'll be fun.
I think, in the
I think the game for me would be Green Bay, Detroit.
Another great game.
That's a game that I want to look at.
If we're doing the AFC picture thing, I mean, Rams-Texans is really
that's
good.
Mine. That's the one I can't wait for. That's a really unique matchup. And I mean, what's Stafford going to be like? Because I think Houston's got the best pass defense in the league when you combine rush and coverage. Like, that's a tough assignment. And I don't think much of either of the Rams defense. And, obviously we have questions about the Texans and like that O-line and a new scheme for CJ Stroud, but I think that could be a ripe Rams secondary to kind of take advantage of. That's the game that I'm kind of like, have like a guilty excitement for that I probably shouldn't, but I'm really fired up for it.
Going to be a great week one. All right. We will be back after the Ravens game. Like, this is kind of what you can set your watch to. We're going to be Thursdays afternoon, 2:00, and then post-game shows. Whenever the game is, we'll be on afterwards as we can make it. Guys, I will miss a couple of them because I work so early in the morning, and I might just say, like, you know what? I got to sleep tonight. But for the opener, my plan's to be here. So
you sleep when you're dead, man.
I know. Well, if I don't get some sleep, I'm going to be dead soon.
Jeremy says that, but I'm willing. I'm waiting to see what really happens.
That's right. Yeah. How fired up I get after these games.
You might be.
Imagine like there's a game and one of us sends a text like, I can't. You got to do it without me. I can't talk right now. I'm too mad. I'm too upset.
Who's the most? I think I'll be
because I can't sleep anyway.
Yeah.
I would do these games.
Jeremy,
I'm
if you could go to sleep like right after the game, like that's impressive.
I know.
That's very
impressive. It depends. Well, sometimes the Bills are up, 35-10. You go to sleep at halftime. But the funny thing about me is, people think I worry and only talk about things that are concerning about the Bills. And my experience is when they're not playing, I am thinking about all the things that are going to go wrong. And then they take the field, and I think they're going to win the whole time. Whole time. Yes. They're down 24-10 in Baltimore. I'll watch that game, and in it, I'll think, I'm mad, but they're going to win.
And when they way in 2020,
and when they don't win, I'm legitimately shocked. Like, after they didn't. It's kind of a Josh Allen thing. Like, they didn't win, and whatever.
That Josh was 2020 Allen. For me. It's like all of a sudden you're like, yo, this is different. I think they're going to score every time they touch the ball.
Yep. All right, gentlemen, it's been a pleasure. Enjoy the game. We'll talk afterwards. And for everyone that has watched, like and subscribe. Find the Locked On Bills channel. Find the Locked On Bills podcast. Make that part of your day. Listen to Joe every day, of course. He does a great job with that. And we're honored, of course, to be a part of this as well. So the season begins. Bills and Ravens Sunday night. We'll see you there. Good night and go Bills.
Go Bills.
Much love. Go Bills.